Absolutely. And I just want to let everybody know that we are doing this live stream to help crowdsource the Kickstarter campaign for Tommy D's book, Stranded on Death Row with Tupac, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg. Tommy, what would you say to those that think that recording at Death Row was a nonstop party?
I wish I could have been there. It was such a nonstop party. Okay, here's one thing. I thought about this the other day because I want to put this in the book, and I've never really told the story because the other day I was thinking, okay, Snoop Dogg had his favorite joke. Here's what his joke was. Let's say a dude delivered a pizza, right? Snoop Dogg would go like, "Hey, did you get tickets?" And the guy who's delivering the pizza is totally freaking out because he realizes it's Snoop Dogg, right? So, and he'd say, "Tickets to what?" And then Snoop Dogg was, do you know this joke? Have you heard this one?
No, I haven't.
And Snoop Dogg would say, "Tickets to the line to suck this beep," And, yeah, forever, right? So Snoop he'd wait to have somebody come and say that joke. So, but what I was saying too, this is the kind of person Tupac was. If a dude was delivering a pizza and he said to Tupac, "Man, I'd like to rap with you sometime," Pac would say, "All right, you're next." That's what he would say, "You're next." That's how cool he was. And that's how fast he would, because you never knew. The guy might have had something dope.
This is a Jmix exclusive.
Did you get a chance to work on the One Nation album? Were you
Yeah,
actively working on that?
yeah.
Do you know about how much content was made for that?
God, it was, Lance and I, we were doing all the engineering for Tupac. We were tired, man. He was just running us into the ground. So we weren't even keeping track of what was going on. And plus we weren't anticipating that Tupac was gonna pass, and there'd be no more recording. So it was just another one of Tupac's things with all these people coming in. We're recording. We don't know what's for what, or if this is Makaveli Part 2. I do remember him saying, "Yeah, this war's over, man. One Nation." And I was like looking at Lance going, "The war's over?" Which war is he talking about? You know what I mean? There's been a lot of wars on here lately. And I guess he was just going to call a truce to the whole East Coast thing. I don't know how he was planning on doing that or what was up. I think maybe he was planning on dropping that album real fast. And that was going to be the sign that the war was over, or that was going to be his, "Look, I'm working with East Coast guys." I can't remember exactly who all the producers were on that record. Because it was one of those things where you recorded 6 songs in a day, and then the next day you couldn't remember what the songs were you recorded yesterday, let alone 4 days ago. But Lance and I would sit in real late at night after Tupac left, and like Hail Mary and Blast Remember, we'd listen to over and over and over. We'd tell the security guards we were mixing them, but we weren't. They were already mixed. We were just listening to. We couldn't leave. We'd be like, "Let's hear it one more time. Let's hear it one more time," because we were just infatuated with that Tupac was going in that direction. And those were songs where he rapped all by himself, which I was a bigger fan of when it was just him on all 3. But just to get into another thing, when the Outlaws did stuff with Tupac, I could never figure out how they were able to keep up with what was, because the subject matter changed so quickly and stuff. And I asked Edie about 6 months ago, I said, "How in the world could you write so fast when everything was changing so fast and it just, you didn't know what was going on?" He said, "Because during the day, Tupac would talk about what he was going to rap about that night. So we would mentally prepare a verse in our head, what we think it might be about." And he said, and most of the time, whatever he talked about was what we did that night. So if he said we were going to do 8 songs tonight, we did 8 songs. If he said we're just going to do 3, they just did 3.
One of our supporters in the chat asked, now after Tupac threatened to leave the label, do you have or think that you have any confirmation he would still release the One Nation album?
Yeah, that was his plan. And there was a girl from London he bought in. He was going to do her record, and some other people. He planned on doing like 50 records. So yeah, I don't know.
A couple years ago, you debunked the Makaveli demo rumor by saying that everything that was done there was done for official release. that nothing was going to be scrapped or put out as a mixtape. You stand by
Yeah,
that, correct?
there was no such thing as a demo at Death Row. What happened was some of those songs, like, okay, here's an example. One day 2Pac says to me, all right, throw up this one song. So Lance puts up the song, and he's just sitting there like this, and she can see me, and he's thinking, and he's not talking, which is unusual. And so the tape, and I'm pulling up the faders, and I'm thinking, wonder what he wants to do, or what's he thinking, or what's going on here. So the song played down one time, and I had most of the stuff up, and I said, so what's up? And he said, is it mixed? And I never say no in the studio, and I said, it's sort of mixed. And he said, okay, run it to Dat. So we ran it to Dat. While I run it to Dat again, I'm still changing the faders around and stuff. So that version of that song somehow leaks out, and that's what people consider the demo. Because 2Pac would just run stuff. And I don't know who leaked that stuff out or how it got out. There's a lot of different rumors of who did it and how it happened. But some of those were because, like on White Man's World, we actually did do additional production because Pac had passed away. So it was just Lance and I, and we're like, okay, we got 3 days to mix whatever songs we want to mix. And so we mixed that song. And if you heard that compared to the original is way different. And when people say the Makaveli album was done in 3 days or 7 day theory, yeah, in a way it was done in 7 days if you add up the time. But most of those songs were an hour to an hour and a half were spent on. Just a couple of them got like 8 hours time on them.
So it was done very quickly.
Man, it was done so fast I couldn't believe it. It was just like I just couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, no one can do this. Prince couldn't come in the studio and do 8 songs that I did under my impression from doing it. Couldn't. And because most people just want to analyze everything that's going on. But 2Pac, he didn't care like if the vocals, if the singing was out of tune and messed up. He didn't care if there were mistakes in the music, because to him it was all about the message, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I just want to let everybody know that we are doing this live stream to help crowdsource the Kickstarter campaign for Tommy D's book, Stranded on Death Row with 2Pac, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg.
It will be completed, but the good news is that a lot of people have come out and spoken about things that has enabled me to kind of get a little bit deeper into stuff I can talk about, like without incriminating myself or endangering myself. But I never in my life thought that Suge Knight would be sitting in county jail, which is just 1 mile down from my studio here, in confinement, something like that. I never thought 2Pac was going to get killed, and so I never thought Suge be sitting in. So all the death row thing, the threats and everything, it's all gone because they're all dead or in jail, or no. As 2Pac said, the war's over.
I do have to. Did you hear the recent news about former head of security Reggie Wright being indicted on 10 felony counts?
That kind of caught me for surprise, because Reggie was just a real quiet person, didn't run in packs, and I even think he did some radio promotion for Rage. And I kind of find it hard to believe that where Suge saying him and his wife. I don't know, man. This doesn't sound right to me. You know, just like Johnny J's, they say he committed suicide. He did not commit suicide. I think you were talking to somebody in one of your interviews about that, right?
Yes, I talked to his engineer Jared Scott, who
Yeah,
told
I
me
just listened
that
to
he
that
was
last night. I listened to it last night, and I talked to Jared because we were working with Death Row, and he was just, there's no way, and there was no way. He did not commit suicide. I can't get into what happened, but he did not commit suicide, and it's a sad subject, but it just had to do with some misunderstandings. And, you know, once in the gang, always in the gang. You got to remember that. That's the way it is out on the streets. I used to be in the gang. That shit don't work on the streets.
Now, I just had a few more for you, Tommy. You had brought up Lance Pierre. Could you tell the listeners who don't know who he is what his role was at Death Row Records and what his relationship is to you?
Well, one night he appears at Death Row, and sometimes I'd stay at the studio 4 or 5 days in a row without leaving. They wouldn't let me leave. And this guy walks in. I'm here, assistant engineer. I said, "Do you know how to cut vocals?" He said, yeah. I said, okay, I'm gonna fall asleep on the couch. Don't wake me up unless there's a problem. This is like at midnight. He wakes me up like 7 a.m. Session's over with. I'm like, you pulled this shit off? He's like, yeah. I was like, cool, man. I'm gonna tell him you're gonna use my engineer all the time from now on. And then what I found out later was was really good friends with Battle Cat for a long time. And had always told Battle Cat, I'm gonna learn how to be an engineer. I want to learn how to be an engineer, because he said what happened in the hood was all of a sudden one day Battle Cat shows up and he's got a Mercedes and shit. And everybody's like, wow, where'd you get that? And he's like, I'm making records now. So Lance said, like, everybody wanted to start, I want to make records, you know? So he was like, he kept telling Battle Cat, I'm going to do it someday. I'm going to do it someday. So Lance came up there. You know, he was a little bit inexperienced, and Death Row things were super duper fast. So he didn't expect that. So I kind of like said, okay, this dude, as a matter of fact, I said to 2Pac, the day he said, for now you're my engineer, I said, okay, as long as for now on Lance Pierre is my assistant. Plus I knew if for some reason I didn't make it there, I was late or something, that Lance would cover my ass. So we became good friends, you know, ended up being roommates for a while, did a bunch of beats together, both worked with the Outlaws a lot, and that's that.
Yeah.